Hi, my name is Joey.
Hey, my name is Mike, and this is the breakdown of our process.
Hey, Mike. How's it going, dude?
All right, so starting off, we always usually try to make sure to go location scouting and just to make sure and see what we're sort of dealing with ahead of the shoot.
It gives us a good general idea of the space and what kind of lighting we need, what kind of shots we're going to get. We can take pictures, and we really know what we're getting into when we get to the shoot itself.
So right here pictured, we're just sort of framing some stuff, and right here we're using an app to see where the sun rises and sets to be able to better gauge and control the light during the shoot. So the next step after location scouting is scripting and storyboarding. We sit down together and we finalize a script that we really like, and then we move on to storyboarding, which is finding and creating images so that when we get on set, we know exactly the shots we want to get.
For this project, we wanted to rent some gear because it was a bigger, higher end shoot. So we went to Origin Camera Rental, and we decided initially to get an Ari, an Alexa. But after a little bit of testing, we realized it's probably not the best camera for the shoot we were trying to do.
Yeah, so ultimately, as pictured here, we are renting a Burano for this weekend, and we thought it would work better with the FX3 since we rigged that up on a couple shots during the shoot.
And it gave us better color matching options as well. So being in the Sony ecosystem, we could use all of the existing lenses we had, and it wasn't too much of a stretch. This is the morning of our fitness lab shoot. This is the second day of our weekend of renting the Burano. And here we are just going through our shot list, going through what we need to do for the day, and finding out our best setup options.
There was me pointing at things. It's important to point at things when you get there.
We had to move a lot of gear around. We had to do a bunch of setups. And honestly, the longest thing was setting up the space, but we think it turned out really, really well doing that.
Shout out Pat here for all the help during this weekend. So other than the fitness lab shoot, we also shot at Midnight Hour Studios, and here we didn't go location scouting because we both shot there multiple times, so we knew what we were dealing with in terms of light and in terms of space.
They have a nice wall set up too, which had a bunch of paper backdrops, which really fit into our artistic interview style, just because we're interviewing an artist.
And here's pictured as us just setting up some lights and going through it.
Yeah, we have a full breakdown coming up, but we knew what we were doing here, so we didn't need to think about it too much. It took us maybe an hour to kind of just rope it in.
Here is me setting up a light outside that we end up shooting through the window to fake some nice light. Eventually, we sort of mimic a sunset during the shoot.
Yeah, we shot into the corner of the studio because of the windows, because we, again, wanted that nice sunset look. And it's just more interesting than a white wall. We led this off with an interview with Dave, because this was more of an interview short narrative. But we really wanted to capture the essence of him as an artist.
All right, so for this shoot at the fitness lab, we used my Leica R set of lenses, vintage glass, really, really beautiful image.
Yeah, I love the image of the Leicas for this. We didn't turn off the overhead lights either because they added so much to the scene. What we just did is we ND'd down and then used the lights to compensate for the rest.
They're basically just like free Titan tubes that we sort of took advantage of. And with the haze, obviously you can see right here in this image, it looks amazing.
Yeah, it created such a good image. And there was no flicker, luckily. So I don't think we could have rented that many Titan tubes.
All right, here's me dissipating the haze. It's important to sort of get, make sure it's not too smoky so it just doesn't overpower the image.
But it really creates a lot of depth. Even when shooting at like 2.8, you still get that beautiful look, and it really isolates your subject, which is why we chose it.
Yeah,
shout out to Pat again.
We also used a slider for some of the shots, as you'll be able to tell from the final videos.
This is actually a slider that Joey made himself. It worked really well.
It was my first time.
Yeah, you did a good job.
I was very proud of myself.
For this section here, we used a lot of natural light because it was just coming in so nice. It was overcast, and it just gave us this like very good isolation for when Lauren was doing her fitness stuff, her mobility stuff. We did add a light just to make sure it was constant, but it worked out really, really, really well in our favor.
Yeah, that window was in a perfect spot right at the middle of the room, so that was where we're going to put our subject anyways. So during a shoot, it's always important to really nail down the details. Here you can tell I'm talking about the color temp.
Yeah, and having two of us really adds a second set of eyes, so you have two DPs really overanalyzing each shot.
Yeah, and here we're shooting some fake sweat onto the subject to really, you know, add that glaze and add like that hard work, even though he was working pretty hard. All right, and here is the lighting breakdown.
Okay. So, yeah, we're gonna walk you down the lighting setup. So first we set up the key. Next we did a spotlight at the back just to create some visual interest. We wanted to go to the MOLA, so we just added some fill to get in a little more light just to bring up the ambient light in the room. Yeah, we shot daylight for this. We wanted the background to be a little cooler than the key. Get those skin tones a little more true on him. Yeah, and right now we're pretty happy with it, but we wanted to give him a little bit of a rim light. And then what's motivating the rim light is actually this light in the back, which we just put an MC in. So the MC is motivating the F22C higher up. Then we have the key light, spotlight, and it is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 light setup. All right, here's a little breakdown of this second scene where we're shooting most of the B-roll. First off, we've got our key here. And then we set up a rim light that Mike will be turning on right there.
These are just adding to.
And then after that, we set up a 600 outside here. We really didn't like all the trucks being parked out and being able to see outside, so we sort of flagged the windows, put some diffusion on it.
And with the 600X outside, we decided that we sort of want to fake a sunset. So during the duration of the shoot, we changed the Kelvin of the light, like the color temp. We put it down about in 400
about 400,
increments throughout like the 2 hours you're probably shooting the B-roll. And it really got that fake sunset look. So that was all fabricated, and by the end of the shoot I did bring down the light as well a little bit so that it sort of mimicked the sun coming down.
And yeah, so then it just looks like the windows are blown out, but then again we were getting less light from the 600, and we were really hoping to get some shadows from the items and the props that we've set up here. So that's why we set up a spotlight here, and then we recreated that window and some of those harsh shadows that we weren't getting anymore from the diffusion. And then once again, we shot some haze into the air to add that texture. Get that creamy B-roll.
And here's the shooting portion. Just some general shots of you know, the workflow that we had going.
I want to mention on this shoot, we actually use a different set of lenses. We use the Thypox Samara Cs because they have a little more of a vintage look to them. They're a little more of a filmic look. We wanted to have this one emulate Dave's style. So he's kind of rough and tough. He would have been a film photographer if he was one. So we decided to switch up 2 sets of lenses for this weekend just to have 2 different looks, kind of flex what we have and kind of see what it provides for us.
Here's us shooting some more sweat.
Shot a lot of sweat.
A lot of sweat.
Here's another slider shot. We used a slider shot a bunch of times over the weekend, actually. It worked out really, really well.
All right, and here's us doing the final wrap shot on the first set of videos.
That's good, eh?
At the fitness lab.
Nice work, man.
Bravo. We did it.
Dude, good job, man.
Also, when you're shooting, it's important to have fun. Have lots and lots of fun. Here is us doing the crow pose that Lauren showed us in unison as a team.
Yeah, I feel like we all nailed it. Apparently it's hard, but you know, we're pretty good at it.
We're better than the subject.
She did have an injury, so we'll give her some credit.
Yeah, so thank you so much for letting us show you our process. We had so much fun on this shoot.
Yeah, and if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to Joey or myself, and we'll be happy to answer anything you got.